Hello, and welcome to this forum presenting the 2021 LaConner Town Council candidates ahead of the November 2nd election. I am Ken Stern, the publisher of the LaConner Weekly News, and I am glad you have tuned in. I am honored to partner with the Skagit County League of Women Voters and its president, Wendy Sanderson. We are all fortunate that Susie, Deyo, a resident of Channel Drive and president of the LaConner School Board, is our monitor tonight. I am glad that the League and Susie and I are able to work together in providing you, LaConner residents and voters, more information on the 6 candidates running for the 3 council seats. I welcome and thank the candidates for offering themselves for office. All are doing the community a service by contesting for these seats, providing a greater opportunity for all of us to ask about the role of our town government and to express our desires for a saner, more sustainable future. I am most appreciative of residents who have zoomed in for this also. Wendy will offer her own welcome and set the stage, so to speak, for this forum. Wendy?
Thanks very much, Ken. One of the joys of being a member of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County is that I get to participate in a lot of these kind of candidates forums. And I really enjoy that. The League has long been recognized for organizing fair and impartial candidates forums. We are a nonpartisan organization. We don't support or oppose any candidates. And ever since our founding back in 1920, a significant portion of our mission has been voter education. We encourage informed and active participation of all citizens in our government. So our Skagit League is really pleased to be here and partner with the LaConner Weekly News to offer this candidates forum for the races for LaConner Town Council. During this forum, we're hearing for candidates running for 3 council races: Council Position 2, Council Position 3, and Council Position 4. These positions are for 4-year terms. A town council serves as the town's legislative body. The town council has the authority to formulate and adopt city policies, which the mayor then has the responsibility to implement. Council members have an important role in promoting the town, representing its interests, and supporting the work of different groups in the community. I want to give you a quick overview of how we're going to conduct our format so that the viewers can understand what's going to happen. Each candidate is going to be invited to make an opening statement of 2 minutes each. Then each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to community submitted questions. Those of you who are LaConner Weekly News subscribers know that there was a request put out for questions to be submitted. Those questions have been reviewed by and finalized by our League Question Committee. And their role is to avoid duplication and to provide clarity in the questions. Our available time today may not allow for all of the questions that were submitted to be asked, but any of the questions that are asked, each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to the questions. Following the questions, then each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Our timer is going to be tracking the time, which will count down in 5-second increments, and it turns yellow when 15 seconds remain. So we're going to ask, when it turns red, the time is up, and we're going to ask the candidates' cooperation to conclude their remarks when they see the red block come up. We're also going to ask, if you're not speaking, if you could stay on mute until it is your turn to speak. I know that's sometimes challenging to get mutes on and off, but it will improve the quality of the audio for all of the participants. So I think that covers the basics for our format tonight. And so I'd like to introduce now eminent citizen of LaConner and school board president, Susie Deyo.
Thank you, Wendy and Ken, and a welcome to all our candidates. So this is how kind of the forum is going to go with the flow. We will go through opening comments, as we mentioned, the statements, 2 minutes. As we go through that flow in the candidate order, we will follow that candidate order through the questions with a different candidate starting the next question first. So you'll kind of know if you're following one person, when we go through the next question, be ready because you will always follow the same person, but a different person will start the question. When we go through the closing statement, we will go in reverse order. So let's get started. We will have 4 questions and we may have potential for a 5th question, but just so you know, there will be 4 questions. So let's start with opening statements. And we're first going to start with Ivan Carlson. Ivan, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ivan Carlson. I was born and raised in LaConner, Washington, and I am raising my son Ivan here with my wife Tasha. We own and operate a local business here, and I am running for council position number 2 because I care about this community and I would like to see the character of the community preserved. I am a 4th generation LaConner volunteer firefighter. I've given a lot of my time to the town and I would like to give more of my time. And thank you for listening.
Okay. So next we will hear again for council position number 2, John Lever. I think you're on mute, John. John, you're on mute. Okay. That's okay, and you'll get to start over at the 2-minute time. Here we go.
Okay. Hello all. I've served on the town council since 2012, and I believe I've worked hard for all the residents and the business owners of LaConner. I do that by listening and making efforts to improve the town. My council focus by assignment has always been the Arts Commission and Finance Committee. I've often proposed non-traditional solutions to town issues and always followed them through to hopefully fruition. On the finance aspect, I've consistently tried to get value for the town's dollars, especially in the area of police services and administrative costs. These efforts have occasionally made me unpopular, but so be it. It's the right thing to do, and I would continue to try to do that. I do not have the pedigree of being born or raised here in LaConner, but I believe my dedication and pride for LaConner will stack up against anyone. I thank you for listening and hope I've earned your vote. And if re-elected, I assure you I will continue my passion and hard work for our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to position number 3, Rick Doyle.
Hi there, my name is, well, first off, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, Wendy and Susie. I want to thank you for hosting this. Ken Stern, the LaConner Weekly News. Thank you all. My name is Rick Dole. I'm currently serving on the LaConner Planning Commission. And I've also attended 85 plus town council meetings over the years. Currently, we are reviewing a lot of housing and to be built behind the grocery store. We've got some issues with that, and we are working diligently to make sure it's done correctly. I've been a first on first committee volunteer for quite a while. We've been highly successful in getting that implemented through the dark days of COVID. And I was the one that made the connections to getting the Sunday concerts restarted. That was John Lever actually I made the calls, made the connections, and we got that going. That's now being funded by a private individual. So we saved the town some money through the chamber there. I've also been a Chamber of Commerce volunteer. I teach ukulele at the LaConner Retirement Inn, or we will again once we get permission to go back in there and do that. I'm a college graduate. I'm a 27-year retired Master Chief, U.S. Navy, combat air crew, disabled veteran. I've worked my entire life. I started out as a farm worker, then an auto mechanic, in the Navy, oil field worker, and ultimately a civil engineering technician at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island when I was in the reserves there. And I retired as a wire installation engineer at Boeing. I bring a lifetime of service and commitment to helping people, and I intend to continue that with the Council of LaConner. Thank you.
Rick, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to position number 3, Bill Stokes.
Hi, I'm Bill Stokes. While I would have preferred a live debate, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the LaConner Weekly News for this opportunity to respond to the questions that most affect me and my neighbors in LaConner. Many people know me as I've lived in LaConner for nearly 20 years, during which time I volunteered for numerous community events and services, including but not limited to LaConner Sea Scouts, cooking tacos for Pioneer Park for the LaConner Braves football team, rebuilding the bandstand in Pioneer Park, raising money for the town skateboard park, baking pies for the annual free Thanksgiving dinner and waterfront cafe, Skagit Bay Search and Rescue, and the Town Planning Commission for 7 years, where I was chairman during most of my time there. I've served on the town council for 9 years. I know the town codes and the complexities of the town finances, as I have served on the streets and finance committee my entire time in public office. I don't take my position on the town council lightly. I do extensive research and listen to all public concerns on all of the issues that come before the council. I don't believe in complaining about problems without having solutions to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to position number 4, MaryLee Chamberlain.
I agree. Thank you for this opportunity and really appreciate the involvement of a League of Women's Voters, an organization I rely on for many election information sources, and the redistricting work that you've done this year has been amazing. I'm here because I've been on town council now since 2014. Prior to that, I was on the Planning Commission. And I actually started my tenure with the town being asked to try it out with the Planning Commission. And that's when I got a taste of lots of policies and regulations and got digging deeper and deeper. And honestly, the position in the council has been a lot of absorbing pretty complex information. And I feel like I finally got a good footing in all of that. Which has influenced how I sit on the council and make decisions. I have lived in LaConner a long time. My children went through school here, and my volunteer activities pretty much were surrounded around kids for many years. And I've ventured into other things in the last maybe 10 or so years. But this town is something that I'm really committed to on many levels. As a resident and as a representative, I like to think that I'm out and about and connecting with people pretty much every day that live here and listen. If anyone has a question for me, I try to make myself readily available to dig in with those questions and answer them to the best of my ability, or get some information that would satisfy those questions. This is hard to do on Zoom, but I do appreciate that we're having some mechanism for getting our messages out. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And position number 4, Glen Johnson.
Excuse me. I'm Glen Johnson, and I've been a long time, my whole life. I've lived here in LaConner's areas, and Mount Vernon's my real base home. But LaConner has been very near and dear to my heart for all of my life. And there are some very critical issues that I bring to the table that I've done my homework on. Dikes are my area of expertise. And not just dikes, but what they're attempting to do. And saving our farmland is of ultimate importance to me. That's where I made my living for my life. And I observed them from the windy, cold night side of the dikes, working the ground, getting it ready to plant and planting crops. And I have had a 50-year career in agriculture. And I started with being a farm worker, picking the berries as fast as you or more. And I spent mass time contemplating how we could safen our society from future floods, be they from saltwater or freshwater. And we're not really paying enough attention to the missing dike that's costing us tons of money. And we're trying to figure out sewage treatment so that we don't put too quickly our sewage into the sound. All of this is stuff that's been my scientific work as a soil scientist. That was my work for my whole life, was to figure out how to get our carbon managed, our manures managed, our own human sewage managed. I worked on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee with Eric Hall a number of years ago. I spent 11 years on a statewide agricultural organization's board of directors, helping put all kinds of projects together. And
Pause you there.
oh, sorry, there. See ya.
We got the red light is on. So thank you for your opening statements. So let's go to question number 1. And again, I will let everyone know that this is the first time you've heard this question of all the questions. So question number 1 is, some of LaConner is in the flood zone. How will you prioritize the building of the ring dike northeast of the school campus? And we are going to start with, let me repeat the question one more time. Some of LaConner is in a flood zone. How would you prioritize the building of the ring dike northeast of the school campus? We are going to start with candidate Lieber. Okay, so you'll come off a mute. There you go.
Thank you. The ring dike. Unfortunately, one of our previous council members has departed, whose passion was the ring dike. I believe some flood prevention must try to be done, but I am of the opinion that we need some more scientific evidence, engineering evidence that that particular location for the ring dike is the correct one. If it is the correct one, I fully support it. That's about all I can say.
Okay, we will go on to candidate Dole.
Hi there. The ring dike, in my opinion, is not necessarily the biggest threat we face. The biggest threat we face is from the slough side. If we were to build a ring dike, it will protect us from the Skagit, which has many, many protections built in already. The ring dike would create a fishbowl effect if we were to be flooded from the this channel side. Therefore, we could say, well, we'll cut a hole in the ring dike, but where? That has to be engineered in. How do we flow the water to that point? Do we have the equipment? Do we have the backhoe capability to do that in a manner? How deep do we let the water get before we decide to cut a hole in the ring dike? How many homes do we sacrifice in that process? I have seen the water on the slough come up to within 15 inches or so of flooding First Street just last winter alone. So the Skagit, like I said before, has modern, new, updated dikes. We have infrastructure such as roads that are now higher than they used to be that act as mini dikes, if you will, across the valley to here. So we need to plan for flooding from the seaside first and secondary to the ring dike. Thank you.
Okay, over to candidate Stokes.
Okay, the ring dike. The town of LaConner has bought the property and we voted to put in that ring dike. The matter is about money. The Army Corps of Engineers no longer certifies dikes because of the Katrina flooding in Louisiana. So it's all about the money to build that dike. Yeah, the roads have been built up and things have changed across the farmland for years, helping to protect us from the Skagit River flooding. But we still could have a break in the levee that could come from the Skagit River that would flood. The farmers in those in the areas where the ring dike are, they know the low spots, and there could easily be engineering to put in a drainage that would go back into the drainage ditch. If we're worried about water coming in from the channel side, it's going to fill the whole town anyway, and there's going to be much more problems than just relieving it from where the ring dike is. I support the ring dike. I think we should finish it. Like I said, it's all about money. I've encouraged many times that we just do it on a volunteer basis. We've already had the engineering plans for how to build the ring dike, and it's only going to be 6 feet high. It's a clay key with impacted dirt around it, compacted down to keep it from flooding. And it's just, it's not something that's going to change any insurance billing or anything like that, but it could prevent flooding from the town if the levee were to break on the Skagit River.
Okay, thank you. Over to candidate Chamberlain.
As Bill just mentioned, it is something we have, we bought the property, we're poised to put that dike in. And as the money is an issue, I also think that tweaking it may be a possibility given as things move forward, the time goes on, there are other changes that are happening. And I agree that a threat of water from our channel is part of that whole scenario, and we need to consider that and how we would manage it. So it does deserve a much bigger and more in-depth look. And we did that incredible charrette 3 years back that was very helpful in having all the scientists involved, looking at options, doing some problem solving. I think we do need to update where we're at with that in terms of what that final perhaps design tweak might look like, but we do need to continue to address that as part of our safety for our residents.
Okay, over to candidate Johnson.
Okay, hang on now.
I'm not sure I am muted.
Okay, there you go.
I think I'm ready to go. This is my issue that I've studied since the flood of '90 that dissolved the levee on the Skagit River. It was very impactful to my life and required me to think my Dutch thoughts about how to make a dike that could pay for itself. And it's a very simple design, but making it such that the dike triple duties, quadruple duties, its project. Everything that I had to do as a small farmer was thinking about how many things I could get accomplished with the same amount of time and thinking and effort. The thinking really required a lot extra, but when all of a sudden you learn how to carry 6 balls at one time rather than one, this is the dike that I've designed. A patentable new design that houses people inside of it like a beaver house. A beaver dam is built by fairly simple creatures. And we're smarter than that, or I think I am anyway. And rather than just having piled up dirt and rock, I'm out of time, so there you go.
Oh, you have 20 seconds. You still have a minute.
Oh, I see a red light blinking. No, okay, then I'll give the last 20 seconds worth of, most people haven't even heard really more than a 10-minute diatribe of mine about the dike. And if there's ever an hour time, people will understand how come my dike design will solve multiple of our problems with one fell swoop.
Oh, okay, thank you. And we're over to candidate Carlson.
I've heard about the ring dike for a few years, talking with Mr. Bruneschultz, and I understand, my understanding of the ring dike is that it will stop a catastrophic flood from the Skagit River, but we're also faced with flooding from the channel due to sea level rise. If you go down on Sherman Street, when the river's high and when the tide is high, you will find flooding on the street. And last year down by the boardwalk, you could see the water was just about a foot from the top of the boardwalk downtown. So I think sea level rise is something that we also need to consider. I think sea level rise is predictable. It's rising at whatever rate that it's rising at, whereas the river flooding is going to be something that catches us a little bit off guard. If we do build a ring dike, I think we need to make sure that we're doing something about sea level rise on the waterfront so that we don't, as other candidates have mentioned, create a situation where the water is just pooling right there. That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to our second question. Here's the question. It takes real understanding and planning to project how LaConner will serve its citizens in the future. What is your vision of growth in LaConner? Let me read it again. It takes real understanding and planning to project how LaConner will serve its citizens in the future. What is your vision of growth in LaConner? And we are going to start with candidate Doyle.
Hi, for the future, first and foremost, I think we need to prepare for flooding, primarily from the channel, and the river, of course, is an issue as well. But without that, we're not going to have much. We have to have robust planning, if you will, for the say from the planning department. Make sure our rules and regulations, the code is up to date, so we don't destroy the quality of life we have in LaConner. We don't want to over build. We have to make sure we stick to very good planning philosophies. And along that line, we need to have affordable housing. Affordable meaning low income affordable housing or starter homes, because we need young people in this town. They're the future of this town. We have some moving in. We have a candidate that's a young person, and that these are good things. We have to have that. But without proper housing planning and protecting the town and also getting our infrastructure on track, we have some spendy items coming up. We don't want to have to dump the whole thing upon the future generations of LaConner. Thank you.
Okay, over to candidate Stokes.
Could you repeat the question?
I can. It takes real understanding and planning to project how LaConner will serve its citizens in the future. What is your vision of growth in LaConner?
Well, I need about 2 hours for this, but growth in LaConner. LaConner is only so big. We have a limited town limits. The growth in LaConner is infill of all of the lots that are being built on now and in the future. The infrastructure is huge in LaConner. We have major infrastructure needs with our water supply coming into town, with the sewer treatment plant, and reaching out to our Swinomish neighbors, because I mean they're planning on a 500 unit housing project that will greatly affect our sewer treatment plant. And at that same time, we would need to adequately prepare for that. Affordable housing is a term that I hear all the time for starter homes and that sort of thing. But the fact is, we're a desirable waterfront community. The prices here are high. The taxes here are high. We encourage as much affordable housing as we can. We have many multi-unit housing in LaConner. We have a couple of subsidized units with the Channel Cove development. The tribe operates the apartments with subsidized housing there. We have senior subsidized housing in LaConner. There's only so much room, and the infill will happen, but the infrastructure is going to be huge to keep up with.
Thank you. Over to candidate Chamberlain.
I think, Mr. Stokes, you outlined many of the pieces we're dealing with in terms of growth. Having been on the Planning Commission and doing an inventory of what lots are still left in town, remarkably, we had a period of not much happening with those lots in the last couple of years. A lot has been happening with those lots, and I see us doing more of that infilling. As far as growth, I believe we have some restrictions in place that will keep us from growing taller, but we might have more houses going in those particular places that folks are selling off their lots if they have multiple lots. Doing that and having the infrastructure to support that seems really important. I am conscious that there are a lot of us that are concerned that we're going to lose the feel of LaConner. Diversity is amazingly important for the strength of any community, and we could use some more diversity. I don't know, we currently don't have lands really available that we could dedicate to some affordable housing, but perhaps something will come up in the future where that's going to be possible. We have some of the diversity in terms of housing going on, but we don't have a lot of multifamily housing. That does create more opportunities for more families to be here, and perhaps maybe more, more later.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go over to candidate Johnson.
Yes, affordable housing is the bailiwick that I work from, with having my new dike design be so relevant to the times. It challenges myself. When I came along with the idea, it was a pretty euphoric moment of, oh, we can do this, and this. We can satisfy financial needs of the town, the state safety and security, the services to the townsfolk is not going to be huge with infilling 100 more houses in town. I mean, maybe you could fill that many more, but that'd be a certain small amount of property tax increase income of monies to the town. I'm a tourist oriented person. I love the tourists. I love to interact with the people from all over the world that come here, because we're the coolest little town in America. And, or supposedly BuzzFeed says this, and Expedia.com said we were a high-end destination place for tourism and vacationing. And I want to cater to that and make mass money from the tourists in 10 days, 12 days a year, 20 days a year, make it so that they don't get to move in here, but they get to enjoy the beauty of our place. We can share the artistry that we have. And I'm an artist.
Okay.
And I just am more of a practical one than paint on canvas.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you. To candidate Carlson.
Thank you. My vision for growth in LaConner is something at a slower pace than what we're seeing right now. We're seeing every lot divided into smaller lots. I think they just changed the lot size to 4,000 square feet so that you could be able to build. And I'm not really a fan of that. I don't think density is a solution to affordable housing. I don't think density is the solution to growth, because there's only so far that we can go if we grow inward. And I think we need to think as we grow about quality of life. Mr. Dole had mentioned families being the future of LaConner, and I couldn't agree more. I think we need young people and we need families. And, about the lot that I live on, is about as small of a lot as you could raise a family on. Anything smaller, and I don't think we would have the quality of life that we have. The lot was, when I was a kid, this lot was both my neighbors' houses. So it was the 3 lots around me was all part of the lot that I'm on now. And I see some even smaller lots that they're putting houses on. And I really question the quality of life that people have. Also, there's going to need to be some improvements to our infrastructure. And I think we need to consider climate change and sustainability with whatever we do with that. And also whatever changes happen, the character of the town needs to be preserved.
Thank you. We'll go to candidate Lever.
Thank you. I won't belabor some of the points that have already been made because I agree with a lot of them, or if not most of them. The infrastructure has to be rebuilt, expanded to handle future growth. And I think part of that future growth could be attracting cottage industries, small cottage industries. For instance, the Maverick Marina folks, the boat builders, they moved in and expanded. And there's maybe some space in some of the industrial zoned areas for some small cottage industries. Tourism, I run an Airbnb in my house, and I've hosted individuals and families from all over the country, all over Canada, from Europe, from South America, and even a few from Asia. They all love this town. So if we need to expand the infrastructure to be able to handle any minor growth that we do have, and we also need to simultaneously maintain or preserve the characteristics of the town.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to question number 3. This question is, discuss the challenges of higher density development and its impact on the town's infrastructure and the charm of LaConner. So again, kind of little similar question, but different. Discuss the challenges of higher density development and its impact on the town's infrastructure and the charm of LaConner. We will start with candidate Stokes.
Higher density is a challenge in many ways. Of course, we talked about their infrastructure, the sewer treatment needs, the water needs, electricity needs, all those sorts of things. But when you have high density, that means, and I voted against this, was reducing the lot size to 4,000 square feet instead of 5,000 to allow more density. I voted against the change from the 8-foot setback to the 5-foot setback for side yards. And those things are a real challenge, not just for the infrastructure of the town and the crowding of the town, losing the light and the space between units, so you have a little bit of thought of being alone in your own home instead of knocking on your neighbor's wall. Those things are a real challenge. But one of the main challenges is with our fire department. Our fire department, when it comes to these close, tight units, our fire department has to be able to get in between them in the case of a structure fire, an emergency. And it's just going to make it more of a challenge and much more dangerous for people in the event of a fire. So I think those are some of the things that really hit. Plus the individual houses. We're used to little houses in LaConner, and I know there's lots of big ones have been built, but there's lots of little ones too. But I'm afraid that over time, all those little houses, including mine, little 1,140 square foot, will be taken over and then rebuilt as larger homes.
Thank you. Over to candidate Chamberlain.
And looking at density, we actually address the square footage lot size, the minimum lot size, in a way to make some improvements for making it maybe more accessible for first-time house buyer, although that's becoming very difficult anywhere in Washington. But following small town recommendations, how to grow in a small town without losing character, having those lot sizes smaller where yes, you could put a bigger house on it. You're right, Bill, that is a danger, but you have to have 60% of the land available for permeability for the runoff of water. And that's one way. If those houses are offset, then you kind of get around some of the issues with the fire department. But that just begs that we need more information around design for those smaller lots. The smaller lot size and the setback change was done so ADUs could be put into these lots and create another mechanism for people to offset some of the cost by having somebody else living there and paying rent. So that was, I feel like we're going in the affordability discussion, but the charm thing is one that I worry about. I do think we need to make sure that, I will stop right there. I'm sure I'll be able to weave it in somewhere else.
Okay, we're going on to candidate Johnson.
Affordable lots, affordable housing isn't probably realistic in our small town. It's too desirable here. That's why I kind of broke the mold, designing a totally new, more green, earth-friendly sort of housing that isn't really flammable, isn't really anything but earthquake resistant to the point of being the safest housing in the event of us having an earthquake. I didn't just fall off a turnip truck. I come from a long line of engineers that built the Whidbey Naval Air Station in Oak Harbor. And I hold that up high because I learned mass from my past about how to design things that are at the super front edge of efficiency. Now, nobody else has talked about, we're already burning up the West's forests with these forest fires, where we're going to continue to be able to build stick frame housing affordably is being brought to question right now as we undertake the building of the library. A $500,000 increase in price because of the cost of lumber that's going to be shorter in supply as we allow fires, blah, blah, blah. I can go on and on about the stupid things that we are doing that we could showcase the artistry of an architect, you know, like the Huppies that built things. I am equally as capable of designing and building a great new dike and housing system.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to candidate Carlson.
Sorry, I should have been ready on the mute button. So I kind of touched on this with the last question. I'm not really a fan of density. I think it takes away from the quality of life. I think open space is important. I think that's healthy to walk by open spaces. We used to be able to walk by Maple Field. I'm really disappointed that not only are the children losing a ball field, but now there's going to be 10 homes there. That's going to reduce the quality of life of the people that live around that. I also, I would like to second what Stokes was saying about fire and EMS. You know, all of us at LaConner Fire Department are concerned about this new development that's going to be happening at Maple Field. It's my understanding that those buildings aren't going to be sprinkled. However, there's only going to be one way to get a fire engine in there. How are we going to fight a fire and contain it to keep it from spreading from house to house? And, you know, with density, in any of the areas in town, we're going to face those problems. And it's, I understand the want to use all available space, but if this town's going to be here for a long time, we need to just slow down and plan ahead, not just rush to develop everything we can and make every bit of money that we can off of somebody's backyard.
Thank you. Over to candidate Lever.
Thank you. I come from New York City. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, which is, it was dense when I was being raised, and it's probably much more dense now. So it's not something I'm a fan of. I love this town. There's a reason I live here, and there's a reason I would never move back to New York City, even though I love it. I think innovation, properly used, maybe some of our codes could be changed to some degree to allow different forms of housing or different size of housing. When we first started talking about the Maple Field development, I constantly stressed the word cottage. I wanted small cottages that would reasonably affordable but still attractive and would fit in with the character of the neighborhood. Between COVID and other reasons, the costs have just skyrocketed, and I don't think we can blame the builders for that. But I think with innovation, we could achieve something better and not overbuild the town, because it's a quality town. I love it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to candidate Doyle.
Hey, it is a challenge with the density issue. First and foremost, we have to have the types of homes have to conform to the neighborhood. They have to be obviously to the smaller lot. We must be creative and make sure that we match existing. For example, in the historic district, we're struggling right now with the builder for some homes in that, and we are in fact sending them back to the drawing board for better plans and more information. As for the fire department issue, I agree. The fire department must have access. Home placement is critical to that, but all new homes in the new municipal code that we've been working on are required to have sprinklers. So, and that's part of the density factor was built into that for that. But again, first-time home buyers would be preferable in the future. The current homes on the drawing board that the Planning Commission is working on are not first-time home capable unless you come from a very wealthy family. And we do need to slow down. We are doing that in the Planning Commission. We're sending these guys back to the drawing board. Give us something better. You have to match the neighborhood. You have to have fire in the mix of things, and the sprinklers will certainly help with that. But we do need cottage type homes, smaller homes. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our last question. Here's a question. How will you keep in touch with residents so you understand the public's perspectives beyond attending public meetings? Again, the question is, how will you keep in touch with residents so you understand the public's perspectives beyond attending public meetings? And we're going to start with candidate Chamberlain.
I like an opportunity to talk about communication. It is what I do all day long with my job is work that communication. And it's, in my opinion, in this tiny little town, best done in person. But in order to really cater to the taste of everyone that comes through here and make sure that we're considerate of different styles, I feel like communicating in a multitude of ways is preferable. And that is kind of a strong interest of mine right now, because I have asked at council meetings if we can get either somebody involved as a liaison for us to get the two-way communication going with our residents in a much more structured and dependable format, rather than just emails and phone calls and walks on the street running into people. And the newspaper, which has done an incredible job of being a conduit for information. So I have asked to get involved in the communication plan, which is our first step. We don't have funding at this time to hire someone, but we are working on a plan that should be much more inclusive and timely and efficient, because we do need to increase our ability to communicate effectively. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to candidate Johnson.
Yes, communication is one of my areas of expertise. The paper has done a wonderful job of writing almost everything that I've ever submitted. Thank you, Ken, so much for that assistance. And I love to speak with people. It's who I am, is a communicator. I love to teach and learn from other people speaking to me about things I don't already know, and me sharing what I know. And I've kept a lot of tourists in town long enough to drink an extra beer to where they got to spend the night, which is what my dream is, that we get more tourists to spend overnight and spend that 150 a night. That's 4,500 a month. Yeah, I'm into it. If the town owned the housing, that we could start thinking about making some money rather than begging for it, to put the water line in, the sewer treatment plant, the dike, $20 million later. Where are we going to get it from? I'm into creating ways for people to get a hold of me by meeting me at the coffee shop or at the Calico in the morning. I'm there most every morning. And my phone here has a really nice number, 360-661-6099. And I'd love to talk on the phone or take a text and answer you immediately, because right now I'm unemployed.
Okay, let's go over to candidate Carlson.
I believe this is a really good question. This is something that I notice as I'm talking to people around town, that they feel like they feel out of touch with what's going on at the town council meetings, and I think they're seeing a disconnect between what they're reading in the paper and what they're hearing is going on. And I think the way that I would approach it is, I see a lot of people in my daily life when I'm in town, engaging in the activities that I engage in. I run into people. I see people at the school when I'm doing activities with my son, soccer practice, or just picking them up. There's always a ton of parents there. Also, through the fire department, we have some people that live in town that are on the fire department, and we talk about town issues. So I think largely it's just going to be the people that I run into. But I've also published my phone number. Anybody can call me at any time. And I may not get back to them right away, but I will get back to them. Walking around town, I walk my dog around town, and my son goes for bike rides, and we run into people and we talk about issues. And I think maybe there should be some kind of social media liaison for the town. I think social media can be bad if it's a council person that's putting that information out there, because then you may get negative feedback and it could turn into an argument. And but if there was somebody from, that was somebody that represented the town other than a council member, I think that might be a good thing. Make use of the local pages for something like that. That's about all I have. Thank you. Call me anytime.
Okay, we're over to candidate Lever.
Thank you. Communication. We have a Facebook community page, which I think is fairly successful. We also have a nextdoor.com, which has proved informative on one hand, but creates some negative vibes and verbal combat. So maybe they are not the best. The newspaper does a good job, I believe. But we also have a town website, which in my opinion is totally underutilized. Technology today, it could be much more. It could be better served to provide information to residents and members of the town, and also to receive their input from the town. As a town councilman, My phone number is out there, I believe, on through the town, but it's 360-296-6414. Call me anytime before 11 o'clock. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to talk. And one last thing, perhaps we have a Maple Hall, and I know COVID restricts it, but at some point, maybe we could do some kind of community get-togethers, meetings, just to exchange ideas other than a council setting. Thank you.
Okay, over to candidate Doyle.
Hi there. As everybody has said, in person, it's in business, it's called MBWA, Management by Walking Around. I walk this town constantly, run into people, talk to them. I let them know, hey, I'm on my way to the council meeting. They ask me, could you please check on this? I ask them to join me, and quite often they have been doing that now. And so it's a voice issue, encouraging folks to come to the meetings, getting their input. I'm often asked, and even given letters sometimes, please read this on my behalf at the council meeting. I think newspaper ads are important. The town perhaps could, under MaryLee's communication plan, perhaps come up with a way to have a weekly or bi-weekly, this is what we're working on in the town, ad come out. I personally plan to perhaps twice a month put an ad in the paper. I'm available, here's my contact information, bring me your issues. I am really going to do that. Let's see, social media. We have the town website. The town website is being improved, as I understand it. It is underutilized. I've had business owners ask me, how can I be notified when water's going to be out? It's going to affect my restaurant. There is a feature now called Notify Me, and I've relayed that to the businesses, and they are ecstatic about it. And social media, we got to be careful there, but that's a possibility, but it's there. Thank you.
And candidate Stokes.
Well, communication, I've lived here for just over 20 years, and I know a lot of people in town. Many of my neighbors and I get together regularly. We have barbecues and talk about different things about the town. I'm the guy that will stop in the middle of the street when I see someone coming the other way and talk to them for a while and block a little traffic, but I move when I see cars coming behind me. So I'm always involved in the constituents around town, the citizens, as far as an individual basis. Now, as far as the town council communication, I've suggested that we have a town council and start a town newsletter that would come out at least every 2 weeks after the council meetings and maybe after some of the planning commission and other meetings. So that newsletter would be on the town website, and also that we could have the water bills sending some more information out on a regular basis. And I'm hoping that someday we get back to more of a normal life in LaConner so that we can use Maple Hall and more people can come to the town council meetings. One town council, as a new council came in, I made tacos for the entire town to come to the council meeting. And we had, I think, almost 100 people showed up at the council meeting for free tacos. We used to have movies in the park and other different events that would allow citizens to get together and just talk about what's going on in the town. So I think those are the things with communication. Social media, I'm not a big social media fan, too much hate. And as a council member, I try to restrict myself from getting involved in those conversations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we are going to move on to the closing statements. And we will start with, for council position number 4, Glen Johnson.
Okay, I guess my final statement would be that I love this town. I've been thinking about it all through my working life about potentially retiring here. And it caused me to do a bunch of homework and find that it was a real challenge to live here because of us being the lowest town in the whole region. And flood risks and those sort of things are a real challenge for a thinking man to want to move into the floodplain. But I lived my whole life in it. So it's not really that big of a challenge for me anymore to think about getting wet, because I've thought a lot about how not to get wet. And that's the reason why you would want to put your vote down for me, is I'm going to keep us from getting wet, and we're going to make money in the process. Enough so that the taxpayer may very well not have to pay a tax liability. We'll let the tourists who love this place already pay a lot of our expenses that we need. The grants, be damned, the tourists are where our money is at. And we're gonna, you know, we got to have employment, and we're not a machine factory place. Tourists is going to give us the money we need. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to, again, council position number 4, MaryLee Chamberlain.
Thanks again for having this tonight, this forum, and this opportunity to listen and have a chance to have a conversation about LaConner. It's a little town, and I wish it was simple. When I first started in town government, it felt overwhelming to learn all of the rules and regulations and policies and procedures. And as I've gone through several years of this now, it's felt more and more complex. It's not simple, and it's hard to make decisions, and it's a lot of weighing of pros and cons and trying to think about the long term and how to mitigate climate issues and infrastructure that's not just for growth, infrastructure change, because our stuff is old. What we're dealing with our water and our sewer needs to be changed for the existing population, not just growth. There are many, many complicated, complex issues that we're dealing with as a little town. I feel like sometimes we're Rhode Island. We have all of the demands on of us of a big state, but we have a small government to manage all of that. And we're unique in so many ways, and we want to preserve those particular charming things that LaConner can only have as a unique little town and culture. But we have to also weigh in and manage a sustainability issue with, you know, what we need for our health and safety, and hopefully growing in all the smartest ways we possibly can. So there you are. It's my community service to be on the council. I used to be on the fire department at District 13, and that got too complicated. So I have an eye on safety and an eye on charm. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to council position number 3, Bill Stokes.
Thank you. It has been my privilege to serve as your town council member for the past 9 years. I've always tried to do the best job I could to serve the town and its residents. I would be honored if you will vote to re-elect me, and I promise to continue to do everything I can to preserve the character of our town, and at the same time make sure our precious tax dollars work to make our lives better. Having lived here for almost 20 years, I know the history of many of the issues the town has faced in the past, and it will face in the future. I care about our quality of life and understand the need to keep our little town a safe and affordable place to live and raise a family. I sincerely hope I have earned your trust and that you will vote to let me serve you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, over to, again, position number 3, Rick Doyle.
Hi, again, thank you, Wendy, Susie, and Ken for putting this on. It's very special. First, we all live here in LaConner because we want to. We love this place. It's friendly, it's safe, it's walkable. We are working through public safety issues with the sheriff's department, and I think they're on track to give us much more of what we need from them. Affordable housing or low-income housing, starter homes, Habitat for Humanity, I think, is the way to go with that. And I intend to continue to work to make this be a safe, livable town, maintain its character, and continue to be the place that I want my grandchildren to take over my home and live here. And I intend to make that happen. And finally, I would appreciate your vote. I will work for LaConner, and I listen and I hear you, LaConner. Thank you.
And we'll go on to council position number 2, John Lever.
Trouble with that mute button. Thank you all for listening. I hope you were comfortable with the statements and responses that I offered tonight. And I hope it gave you confidence and interest to vote for my re-election. I assure you, I will work hard, listen, and strive to do what's necessary and best for our town. I'll be holding a public meeting soon to discuss my history, my council duties, and my outlook for the town, if you care to hear them. If anyone wants to speak to me, call me, 360-296-6414. I'd like to thank Wendy, Ken, Miss Deyo, sorry, and Eric Hall behind the tape recorder. I'd also like to thank Natural Cat, Anthony Bourdain, and the Uline catalog for propping up my laptop tonight. Thank you. Great night. Thank you all.
Okay, and for council position number 2, Ivan Carlson.
Thank you, Wendy, Susie, Eric, and Ken for putting this event on tonight. It was a great opportunity to talk about this stuff, and I enjoyed hearing the other candidates speak. As other people have said, you know, we all love LaConner. We all live in this town. For me and my wife, we love the town so much that we bought a home that's 120 years old with a failing foundation and a shared driveway. We bought that because it was important for us to stay here. There's nowhere else that I would rather be. It's not just the place I choose to live. It's not the place I choose to call home. This is part of my heritage. This is where I will always be. I know there's a lot of talk about law enforcement, and it's true. There's something that needs to be done, that absolutely needs to be done about law enforcement in LaConner. Our 80-hour contract is too limited. When I was a kid, we had full-time sheriff. For a time when I was a kid, we actually had town cops. But the full-time sheriff, I think, was a great deal. And I would like to work towards getting closer to that, whatever it takes, if it's federal grants or whatever happens. I would also maybe like to see some cameras, some security cameras at the entrances to town, so that if there was a major crime, the cops could look at it. If you elect me, I will listen. My number is 360-840-4330. And you can also, you can find my number just by Googling my name or my business name. Affordable housing is something that's personal to me. It took us a while to find a house that we could afford to buy, despite having decent incomes from both of us. So I'm committed to finding some kind of solution for first-time home buyers, or maybe not even first-time home buyers, just people that want to stay in their hometown that are being priced out with rent. So thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for your thoughtful comments tonight, your discussion, and your participating tonight. And of course, we all wished we could have been in person. So I'm going to wish you all luck in your campaigns. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Wendy for some closing comments. So Wendy, back to you.
Thank you, Susie, and thank you for your moderation of the event tonight. Great job. We appreciate it. And I also want to echo the comments about appreciating the generosity and the civic commitment that all of you candidates are making to run for office. I'd like to turn to some tips as you cast your ballot. I'm going to share a couple of screens here. We invite you to learn more about these candidates, and there's several ways to find out about them. First of all, you can visit the candidates' individual websites and social media pages if they have any. And they also offered their telephone numbers, which is very gracious, and I hope you'll take advantage of that. You also have the Secretary of State's voter pamphlet that has been sent. I think it was last week we received our copy. In addition to those resources, the League of Women Voters also has an online voters pamphlet called vote411.org. It's a place where candidates who are participating can put additional information and respond to questions that have been posed by the League of Women Voters. And so that information is out there for you to review at your leisure. I've also put here the Skagit League of Women Voters website, skagitlwv.org. A copy of this recording will be posted there within the next day or two. And there's also additional information about the work that we do. Just a little plug, anyone can be a member of the League of Women Voters, and we would love to have you find out more about it. As far as actually marking your ballot and getting it put into a ballot box, I want to remind you that one of the biggest challenges that the election department faces is unsigned envelopes that are submitted to them with their vote. So please, first thing you do as you're getting ready to mark your ballot, please make sure you sign the envelope. Also, if you're going to return your ballot by US mail, we suggest that you put it in the mail a week ahead of time. The postmark is critical, and it is either put it in the mail early or have it hand canceled at your post office. But another really handy option is the election ballot drop boxes. There's 10 of them throughout our county. 2 of them are right there in LaConner, one at the library and the other one outside of the social services building at the Swinomish Reservation. And so if you put your ballot in the drop box, you have up until 8 p.m. on election day, which is November 2nd this year. The other thing that a lot of people are not necessarily familiar with, but the Secretary of State has a way for you to be able to find out when your ballot has been received at the elections department. So you can go to votewa.gov, that's votewa.gov, and you'll be able to put in your information and check and see the status of your ballot. So we want to thank you for joining and for participating in this event. Again, to all of the candidates and for those of you who are watching this recording. And I'd like to turn it back over to Ken to close out our meeting tonight.
Ken, you're on mute. Okay.
Yes, in person is best. And one day we will. I just don't know when that day is going to come. I want to first thank the people who are watching this for their fulfilling their roles as citizens. And to these citizens, to residents of LaConner, I urge you to reach out to the candidates on the screen that you're seeing now for further detail about that is you as citizens, your hopes and the candidates' hopes for the future of the town of LaConner. Take your time in making your decision. Thank you for voting in this election. Remember, your responsibilities as a citizen only begin with your voting. Thank you for your ongoing engagement and participation in the community you call home. My thanks again to the candidates for offering their time and their willingness to serve. My thanks also to town staff for their supporting the government and the community. Finally, my thanks to the Skagit County League of Women Voters, the Voter Services Committee, Brett, and who helped with formulating the questions, to Eric Hall for being behind the scenes with the timer and helping us with the technology, to Wendy, who is a partner with the League with the LaConner Weekly News, and of course to Susie for really stepping up and really showing what it means to participate in the community and help to make us all better as citizens. And again, I thank you, candidates, and please reach out to the citizens over the next 18 days or so. Good night for now, everyone.